Dreams come true. Miracles do occur. In spite of lots and lots of travel and heavy-duty road work and going here and going there and being hither and yon and perhaps being the hardest working man in show business, you can see it right there. I'm waving the envelope in front of the camera. My voice is speaking. I'm putting on my glasses. The Facebook interface, as usual, might not be working very well. But I'm going to go for it. I'm going to drop the veil. And I'm going to declare that I, Malcolm Tent, am here live on Facebook for this week's episode of Tent Talks Tunes. Or as my despotic yet kind-hearted boss in Antiseen, Jeff Clayton, so eloquently put it with his own two hands, Tent Talks Tunes. Jeff Clayton is a man with a firm grip of geometry and free space and the use thereof. Yes, indeedy do. It's Wednesday, 7 p.m. if you're watching live. It could be anytime, anywhere, any place. If you're watching YouTube, where all of my episodes of Tent Talks Tunes are archived, or if you're just on my Facebook page sometime in the future. I don't know. But as of this moment, it is indeed Wednesday, 7-ish p.m. Welcome, everybody. Glad to see you're here. But first, let's see if you really are here. Let's check the monitor. Because as usual, I've gone live, and there's this little circle spinning around on the screen saying that the live video is starting. But there's no indication as to whether it's actually started. So I'm going to check on this telephonic device, the monitor, and we're going to make sure that I am live. Ah, yes, according to the monitor, I am live. And see, that's kind of like a weird video art piece. I'm live while I'm monitoring myself. And there's a delay between the signals. Oh, look, I'm subtitled too. Amazing. I'm subtitled? Can you people see subtitles when you watch Tent Talks Tunes? Look at that. There's subtitles. I didn't do anything about subtitles. I did not select that as an option, but it's automatically subtitled me. Dude, what's going on here? Can you people see subtitles? Chime in. I see that my pal Mike Lesser from Vancouver is watching. Bill Miskowitz is watching. Hello, hello, hello. And a bunch of others. I'm amazed at this subtitle thing. This is pretty cool. I'm gonna have to watch it later and see if maybe they don't make some very strange mistakes with the words I'm saying. It's like reading one of those old Japanese lyric sheets that I've talked about before on Tent Talks Tunes, where the Japanese record label would hire somebody who would do a purely phonetic translation of the lyrics on American and British records and then print them out on lyric sheets to have with the albums. You've never read true absurdist literature until you've read the Ramones' It's Alive Japanese lyric sheet, with the lyrics translated phonetically by a Japanese person into English. Words can't even describe it. The Who Live at Leeds is another one of those. The original Japanese pressing of The Who Live at Leeds has got the most indescribable lyrics printed on the sheet. The Japanese pressing of The Village People, Macho Man. You can imagine what the Japanese translator came up with on that one. One day maybe for Tent Talks Tunes, or maybe as a spoken word release, I will read verbatim from these Japanese lyric sheets. Guaranteed entertainment. In fact, in the past, I have performed a version of Get Off My Cloud, in which I have a lyric sheet written verbatim from a Japanese 45 single, the way that the Japanese translator in 1965 translated the lyrics to the Rolling Stones' Get Off My Cloud. You ain't heard nothing like it ever. Ever. So maybe I'll put that back in my set when I get back to playing some more acoustic shows in the year 2022. What do people think about that? Excuse me. What do you think about Malcolm Tent strapping on his acoustic guitar, getting that sparkly blue Starvation box and hitting the road again and playing some shows in your town? It's been a while, man. I've been so busy with my various bands, such as the almighty Antiseen, They Hate Us, the Bloody Apostles, the Malcolm Tent Power Duo featuring Mad Brother Ward, um, Ultra Bunny, Fried Man. I mean, I got a lot of stuff going on. My solo acoustic stuff has sort of taken a back seat to it, but I could definitely put the acoustic guitar in the back seat of my car and get behind the wheel and start driving around and go to places like Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, or Spindale, North Carolina, or Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, or El Centro, California, places that I've played that I really, really like playing. Nogales, Mexico. Man, I'm sort of talking myself into it. Yeah, let's think about it. Let's think about it. Well, all right. You know I'm going to tackle some heavy-duty topics tonight on Tent Talks Tunes, but first we have to make a check of current events. First, we're going to check the bulletin board, which you can see is behind me. The bulletin board's been a little bit static lately because I've been focused with laser-like precision on one or two things, one of which is a flyer that has been hanging here for a few weeks, the Antiseen Christmas Cantata, which occurred on December 18th at the Tipsy Burro in the Queen City of Charlotte, North Carolina. As you can see, baby, mission accomplished. We rocked the hell out of that thing, man. That was a great, great show. One for the books. The annual Christmas show is always a fine, fun, festive affair. We play it for free at the Tipsy Burro. Everybody's welcome to come. We have the fellowship supper beforehand where you sit and eat tacos and burritos and whatever, hang out, make the scene, meet the people, and then play a rockin', rollin' show for free. And it was just really, really cool to see lots of old friends, people who traveled from great distances to come see us play for free in Charlotte, and lots of new blood, lots of new, fresh, young blood, including some really young kids who are having their first ever Antiseen experience, maybe even their first ever live concert experience. That was cool. I really liked that. I love that young energy, the youthful energy, as it mixes with the old people getting down and us on the band spurring it on to greater heights. Really a lot of fun. Thank you everybody who came out and made it the success that it was. And next year, in about a year's time, I do believe we're going to do it again, because that's what we do. Whilst in town for the Antiseen Christmas Cantata, I entered the studio. Yes, the recording studio with my bass guitar, and the producer of the brand new Antiseen album, Sir Barry Hannibal, the drummer and 5-star general of Antiseen. He's producing the new album, and he and I sat down and we spent 8 solid hours laying down bass tracks for the new album, which is going to be called Great Disasters. Great Disasters. Brand new studio album by Antiseen. And it was pretty cool, man. It was one of those deals where Barry and I were just like sparking off each other. Ideas were flying back and forth, you know. I had ways that I wanted to play the songs. He had ideas for modifications. I would suggest something else, you know, and it just went back and forth, and we just went straight down the middle eventually and laid down some really good tracks. Recorded my backing vocals, and at the end of the night, I think we came up with some really damn good sounding bass parts. So I am excited. I mean, listening to some of the playbacks on these things, I was reacting just like a fan. You know, hearing these brand new songs, excuse me, for the first time in their entirety, I was just like, yeah, you know, it was just as if I had gotten the album at my local record store, was cracking it open for the first time as a fan and listening to it. That's how good it sounded and how much I think these new tunes are going to rock. It's a great album. I also laid down the bass tracks for our forthcoming 7-inch single. Yes, a 7-inch single by the almighty Antiseen. It's us doing a song by Waylon Jennings. Are you sure Hank done it this way? Mm-hmm. You might think that's kind of unlikely, but I can guarantee you when you hear it, it'll make perfect sense. Antiseen does Waylon. That's going to be on a 7-inch single to come out before the album. Excitement, excitement, excitement. So that's what was happening on the bulletin board, and thus by extension on the calendar. So let's check the mailbox, shall we? It's been a while since I've checked the mail because I've been out of town for the last couple of weeks doing all this stuff. Got my Danbury tap. It's very important, kids. Stay hydrated. People have remarked, Tent, you dry old man, why do you carry around a 1-gallon jug of water? Because hydration is extremely important. I'm a health nut, as you know, vegan motherfucker, 20 years and counting. Vegan, and I follow the formula that you need to drink 1 ounce of water per pound of body weight every day. I typically weigh about 136 pounds. A gallon is 128 ounces. So it's easy. I just fill one of these up in the morning, sip on it all day, and when it's done, I know the day is over. Time to go to bed. Nothing left to do. It's over. It's done. Forget it. Tuck me in and put out the lights. Don't wake me up until it's 2 p.m. because I don't want to know about anything that's happening before 2 p.m., baby. I don't want to know. Now, of course, you might say, well, Tent, if you wake up at 2 p.m. and it's only 7-something, why is there so little water in your jug? I'll tell you. It's because I was awake at 7 o'clock in the morning today, taking some friends of mine to the airport. 7. I can assure you I don't do that kind of thing very often. It's a dramatic, drastic state of affairs. And if you want to know, if you want some kind of measure of just how much I value your friendship, ask me to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning and drive you to the airport. It's a good barometer. Very good barometer. Anyway, the mailbox. There's the address, just in case you forgot from 15 minutes ago. Malcolm Tent, P.O. Box 3626, Newtown, Connecticut, 06470. Let's see what we got. Here's an envelope from my pal, the artist formerly known as Bloody Mess, from his label Fanatic Records in Ashland, Oregon. This is something he sent me a sound clip of, and I really, really liked it. The album's entitled Skies Are Blue, a tribute to Pat McGlynn. And this is just great stuff. It totally rocks. It rocks. It totally rocks. It's got a whole bunch of people on it, including his band, the name of which I'm completely remiss and have kind of forgotten. But he's on there, and it's good. And when I get back on the radio, yes, people have been asking about that. They say, Malcolm Tent, when is Mr. Tent's Wild Ride going to return to the airwaves? We do believe late January. Late January, Mr. Tent's Wild Ride is scheduled to return to WNHU in West Haven Thursday nights at, I believe, 7 p.m. I'll keep you posted on that. On Wednesday, I'll talk about the music. On Thursday, I'll play the music. It's the best of all possible worlds. Let's check the monitor here. See what's going on with the monitor here and the stream. Look at that. I'm still captioned and subtitled. This is really amazing. I kind of like this. But my stream's not live anymore. Let's see if we can get back on here live. So I want to see who's looking and who's talking. Ah, yes, Leslie Wimmer, my mentor from Open Books and Records, who is currently vagabonding around the country. Matt, Chad, the other Matt, Yes, everybody's out there. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. All right, let's see what else we got here. This is a mysterious envelope from Albany, New York. My pal Jason Rogers, who sent me an envelope which has something that I love. And I've talked about this quite a bit. I love the fact that print magazines and print media are still very much alive. It's not all blogs, it's not all websites, it's not all social media. Sometimes you can get an envelope in the mail and open it up and find good old-fashioned, yet still very current chapbook with various writings, cut and paste art, all made by hand. Check it out. Genuine black and white Xerox style collage art. This is cool. Looks to me like it was assembled with paper, glue, and scissors. I love that. Jason, I've got something in the mail I'm going to send you in exchange. Something similar from my pen, paper, and bottle of glue. So that's it. If you send something to P.O. Box 3626, Newtown, Connecticut, and I've got something to reciprocate with, I will reciprocate. So Jason, keep an eye on your mailbox. I'm putting this on the out pile. Speaking of print zines, and speaking of, I'm going to throw that all over the goddamn place. The latest issue of the Bridge and Tunnel Crowd is here. Man, these guys have a wacky sensibility. Hey, Harry the cat just jumped in the window. Hey, Harry. Can you guys hear him? Harry. Yeah, he squeaked a little bit and then walked off. Anyway, Bridge and Tunnel Crowd, unique, wacky sensibility, and these are genuine print zines. They sent me a whole bundle of these things. So as is my habit, we've got like 3 or 4 different issues here. I'm going to keep one of each for myself. That's a dupe. That's one for me. That's a dupe. That's one for me. So we still have a few issues to send to people. I love this magazine. It's a free magazine, at least in this medium. There are local stores and shops in Connecticut where you can get it. It's got a cover price. But, you know, if you guys want to send me something, I'll be happy to send you an issue of Bridge and Tunnel Crowd in exchange, because it's a really cool, relevant zine with a wicked sense of humor. So we'll put this in the potential outbox. Here's an envelope I got. I don't know what this is. This is from Signals of Madison, Ohio. Did I read that right? Hudson, Ohio. Signals of Hudson, Ohio. It's the only return address on here. And it's an envelope. You can see it's an envelope. You can hear it, but now you can see it. And in it, I can tell it's a shirt. Well, let's see a little explanation, maybe some explanation as to who and what this is. Well, it's a generic packing slip. I don't know who these people are. Oh, a gift for me from Signals. And I just managed to completely tear. Oh, this is a surprise. It's a genuine surprise. It's a gift to me from my mommy. My mommy. Mama Tent. Mama Tent. She sent me a t-shirt in the mail for Christmas, I'm going to guess. And look. It is the patent model for a guitar. Oh, Mommy. How nice. Thanks, Mommy. Don't know if you're watching, but thank you. Your little boy will be proud to sport this around town at the grocery store, the gas station, the hardware shop, post office, if I didn't say that already, and just kind of loitering around hiking trails and other places where there are to be in beautiful Connecticut. Everybody send a shout out to my mommy. I don't know if she's watching right now. Sometimes she does. She tends to be quiet and stay off in the background, but she's been known to watch Tent Talks Tunes. So big shout out to Mom. Yay. All right. We got one more thing in the mail I want to talk about before we dig into tonight's topic. This doesn't really qualify as exchange mail or fun stuff from people, but this is a big old box. One giant sized box crammed full of something. And you might wonder what's in the box. The Cramps asked, what's behind the mask? The Cramps also asked, what's inside a girl? You are probably asking, what's inside the box? This, for anybody who's known me for a long time, is what we call a big irony. Lots of irony here. Irony, irony, irony. If you've known me for a long time, you'll remember back in the dark days of the 90s when the major labels were doing their level absolute best to stamp out vinyl. And I don't mean stamp out vinyl as on a press. I mean as wiping it out. They're doing their best to wipe out vinyl as a format because it wasn't as profitable as CDs. And they were touting CDs as being the only medium that mattered. The only medium you'll ever need. Just buy our $22 CDs that cost us 85 cents each to make. And forget those vinyl records. They cost us $1.25 to make, and we can only sell them for 10. That's not enough profit. That's not nearly enough profit. We need more profit. Therefore, we're going to stop making albums, and we're going to force you to buy CDs and cassettes for a while till we phase those out as well. Because of that, I always hated CDs. And I should really clarify, not CDs as a format per se, but the way that CDs were forced upon us. Our freedom of choice was usurped when it came to media and the way that we wanted to have our music in our own home. It was overpriced, I mean grotesquely overpriced CDs or nothing. Fuck that, and fuck the major labels. I'll take any chance I possibly can to say fuck the goddamn major labels. I've hated them almost since the very beginning of my career in music, and I hate them now. To quote the great Lee Ving from Fear, if there are any A&R people out there watching right now, go die. Quickly. Please. Thank you. I appreciate the effort. So the irony being, considering how much I loathe the way that CDs were crammed down our gullet, it is supremely ironic that now the major labels have got the pressing plants all backed up because now they can sell vinyl at a profit point commiserate to what CDs used to be at. You know, if you paid $45 for the latest, I don't know, bullshit Adam Sandler soundtrack or whatever major label garbage is clogging up the pipeline right now, you'll know what I'm talking about. I hope you didn't. I really hope you didn't. So what does that leave? Where does that leave a guy like me? A one-man band, a one-man operation when he wants to release something new by an artist? Where does that leave me? That leaves me sending away to get a box full of, and this is the first time I've ever done this. First time ever I've done this. A box full of manufactured compact discs. Can you imagine that? That, my friends, is irony. And it's gotten to that point. Like, I had this release I wanted to put out to make a bit of a splash with, and that is, this is a sneak peek for all you people. A sneak peek for all you people. As you may know, I've made it one of my life's missions to issue and or reissue all of the unreleased and out-of-print GG Allin stuff that's out there, principally from the years 1987 to 1991-ish. And I have so far successfully reached out and contacted, I do believe, everybody who issued a GG Allin record during that time period and have either reissued their titles or have gotten the wheels in motion to reissue their titles. I have also found some really amazing unreleased stuff that no one's ever heard before. And this CD, entitled GG Allin with the Disappointments, I'm Not Drinking Tonight, is a full-length CD release of the fabled 1991 concerts he played with the Disappointments. Not a lot of people know that he played 2 shows with the Disappointments in 1991. There's never any documentation of it. Well, guess what? This is coming out in January on CD and cassette, numbered limited edition of 100. But we'll be talking more about that when the time comes. The punchline is, I just love opening boxes and getting product, because running a record label is fun. It is so much fun. And releasing new stuff by artists and bands who I really like is also a lot of fun. So yeah, great big box full of manufactured CDs, go figure. I didn't think it was ever going to happen. I really didn't. Honestly, did not. All right, gang. We've checked the bulletin board. We've checked the calendar. We've checked the mailbox. I'm going to check the monitor, and then we're going to talk tunes. Let's see who's got what to say about what. Ooh, a lot of comments there. Oh, yes. Callie, John Adam, Bruiser Braswell. Yes. All right. Chad, hello. All right. Glad to see you guys are still here. So anyway, as you might have noticed, you might have heard me say before, I've been on the run like for the last couple of weeks. 2 Wednesdays ago, I was on the road to Charlotte for the Antiseen shows. Last Wednesday, I was on the road home from the Antiseen shows. And today, I've been up since 7 o'clock in the ding-dong-dang-damn morning, driving my friends to the airport in New York City and back. So I woke up this morning mega unprepared. And I had no idea what I was going to talk about today. I'd never even thought about it until I was in my kitchen. And I saw hanging in my kitchen the photograph that was on my little blurb for Tent Talks Tunes today. I have a framed Ronnie James Dio LP for The Last in Line hanging in my kitchen. I saw that and said, well, maybe I'll talk about Dio tonight. Maybe I won't. I don't know. And I thought, yeah, why don't I talk about Dio? Why don't I? Why don't I talk about Ronnie James Dio? Ronnie James Dio, and this is funny because Ronnie James Dio is not he's not in my pantheon of all-time favorite artists. I don't automatically mark out at the thought of Ronnie James Dio. I've never even heard. I've never played one of his solo albums ever in their entirety. I've never heard The Last in Line. I've never heard Magica. I've never heard Dream Evil. I don't know. I've never heard them. But I am a gigantic mark for Black Sabbath. And as you've probably guessed, I love digging deep into the history of rock and roll and the history of music and tracing the origins of artists who I really like back to where they started. And they're sometimes very, very unlikely beginnings. And Ronnie James Dio's got such a great story in rock and roll. And I see his autobiography is out now, and I really, really want to read that. I have not read it yet. I'm hoping that it goes in depth into some of the stuff I'm going to talk about tonight on Tent Talks Tunes. The first indication I had that there was more to Ronnie James Dio than just Black Sabbath and Rainbow and all that was when I was trading tapes. And maybe some of you folks out there remember the days of tape trading, and then later CD trading. I guess nowadays it's file sharing. But Back in my day when I was so much younger, we would trade tapes. We would make cassettes of fabulous, rare, unreleased music, live concert recordings, studio outtakes, stuff like that. We'd make cassettes and trade them around with people who had similar material. And that was the only way you could get this kind of stuff. You couldn't just go on YouTube and look up last night's Melvin's concert and see the entire thing posted in its, in full color, high def stereo. You couldn't do that. If you wanted to hear last night's Melvin's concert, you had to wait until one of your tape trading friends sent you their latest list, and you'd look through the whole list, and oh my God, Melvin's. There it is from December 28th in Danbury. He's got it. He's got a recording of it. He only gives it a 5 out of 10 rating, but so what? I was there. I got to hear it. And so you'd request for him to send that. You'd make a tape in exchange, and a few weeks later or a few months later, the cassette would arrive in the mail, and you could finally relive the glory of that Melvin's show that you were at last night. That's what you had to do. And it was fun. I really enjoyed it. I loved getting trade lists from all over the world with people who would record concerts or, collect studio outtakes and things like that. And you'd find the damnedest stuff. And so one day I was perusing this dude's list, and it said Ronnie James Dio, live 1963 in a restaurant or something like that. And I automatically I needed to hear that. Ronnie James Dio, 1963, live in a restaurant? What the hell? So I requested it, got the tape, sent him some stuff in exchange, and played it. And sure enough, it was Ronnie James Dio live at a restaurant called, I think, Domino, or Domino's, I think Domino, from 1963. And it's Ronnie James Dio in a band, sort of like politely rocking through pre-Beatles style rock. It wasn't even really rock and roll. It was more like kind of like Neil Sedaka type stuff. Neil Sedaka, Dion and the Belmonts, maybe some of Bobby Darin, something like Bobby Darin's more swinging material. It was the sound of people who kind of like wanted to rock but didn't know how to, because the way hadn't been shown yet. They're swinging lively, I think is a good way to put it. And I was like, wow, I had no idea that Dio went back that far. And so that just immediately ignited my curiosity, and I started trying to find out as much as I could about this early Ronnie James Dio stuff. And of course, in the pre-internet day, that was very difficult. I mean, no one took Ronnie James Dio seriously as an artist. So there weren't books about him. There weren't in-depth magazines about him. As far as I knew, there were no fanzines about him. So this entire era, from the early 60s until when he was in Rainbow in the early 70s, was a mystery. Total mystery. And it was only piece by piece that I was able to start finding little bits and pieces, little tracks here and there. A friend of mine had a really cool boxed set of, I think it was New York State Rockabilly on the Bear Family label. And it was something like a 10 CD set with, 150 different people on it. And I was looking at the track listing. Oh my God, Ronnie Dio, a track from 1958 or 59, doing like a straight ahead kind of rockabilly song. Excuse me. And the notes said, before Ronnie James Dio was in Black Sabbath, which is the worst band that ever existed, I fell in love right there. He cut a number of interesting rock and roll sides. It's like, okay, here's something that even predates this 1963 live recording in a restaurant. So little bits and pieces. I knew he went back at least that far. And, lo and behold, I was cruising through a record store in New York City, going through the 45s. And I'm the type of dude that if you go record shopping with me, you got to be patient. Because I won't necessarily look at every single record in every single bin, but the used LP bin or bins, I'm pretty much guaranteed to start at A and go to Z and look at the whole Verschlungener thing. The 45s and 7-inch EPs, not so much, but I will definitely pick certain letters of the alphabet that have certain artists that I actively collect. For example, D for Devo. You knew Devo was going to come up at some point. Or in this case, D for Dio. I'm going to look at them all. And I might look at all the compilations, because when you look at all the compilations, you'll find something like this. SOB previews. This is perhaps the most generic looking record sleeve I've ever seen. It's from 1982. It's all typewriters, and I'm going to guess rub-on stars, and some rather kind of badly done calligraphy. But it's got some artists' names in the stars, and I, of course, look at every one of them looking for nuggets. So I picked this one up, I looked at it, and who's on it? The original Belmonts, Bob and Jerry, Jay and the Americans, Freddie Cannon, The Strangeloves, and Ronnie Dio. Hope you guys can see it on my new there you go. My new and improved camera's come through. Thank you, Ms. Gelman, for the new and improved camera. Ronnie Dio, Gonna Make It Alone. You'll notice too, I paid $3 for this. And this is a side from, I believe, what year? It's got the lyric sheet, or an information sheet. Here's more of that great cut and paste Xerox art featuring all these Brooklyn guys when Brooklyn was still Brooklyn. Ronnie Dio and the Prophets, 16 years old when he cut this side. So I guess whenever he was born, you can take that date and add 16 to it, and that's when this track was recorded. So yeah, something from, undoubtedly, the 1950s, Ronnie Dio, a song called Gonna Make It Alone, Ronnie Dio and the Prophets. So there's another missing piece to the puzzle. And this is, it's, you know, it's before 63, but it's kind of the same deal. It's not quite rock and roll. It's not doo-wop. It's more like that, the white corn, like not the white Brooklyn street corner style of singing, which is different from doo-wop. But I'm not exactly sure what you would call it. Anybody know? Anybody got ideas? Please post them. I would like to know what exactly you would call that. You know, I mentioned the name Dion and the Belmonts before. The early Four Seasons. What do you call that? What's the exact name? Pop? It's not Blue-Eyed Soul, because it's not soul music. It's not true doo-wop. I don't know what it is. But a bunch of white dudes singing in harmony in the pre-Beatles era, post-original rock and roll era, when everything was just kind of like in flux, you know. Rock and roll was dead for the most part, but hadn't been resurrected yet. But people like this were trying, you know. They were trying to rock. They just didn't have a compass. So there was that. Another very early track by Ronnie Dio and the Prophets. Another missing piece to the early years of Dio came when my good pal Walter from Brass City Records, the late lamented and greatly missed Walter from Brass City Records, made me a compilation CD. Bunch of years ago. Years and years and years and years ago. This is when CDRs were just beginning to supplant tapes as the big mode of trading. We were easing out of tape trading and getting into CD trading. And Walter was hugely active in the trading scene. I traded so much stuff with that guy, tapes and CDs. And I went to the store one day and he just gave me this compilation that he put together called Brain Stem Lesions. He made this himself. And this is all Western Connecticut, Eastern New York rock music from the late 60s and early 70s. And he was telling me about it because Walter was born and bred in Waterbury. He was Brass City from birth to death. And he told me that in the late 60s, early 70s, there was a very active ballroom scene with lots and lots of local bands and plenty of ballroom-style venues and teen centers and teen clubs and ski lodges and stuff like that where these bands would play. And it was like mostly original music. And if it was covers, then it was obscure covers. And this disc has got all kinds of these bands on it. Excuse me, bands like the Bram Briggs set, the Blue Beats. The Blue Beats. That is some ace garage rock right there from Connecticut. The Shags with only one G, not to be confused with the Wiggins sisters, but the Connecticut band called the Shags, who rock pretty hard. Naif, Me and the Rest, Wrong Black Bag, the Elves, and so forth. Lots of great music coming out of that scene. And almost every track on this disc is a killer, and I was complimenting Walter about it. He told me that the tunes on this disc came from a cassette that was made for him by a guy named Mike. Mike used to play guitar for a garage band in Connecticut called the Double Knot Spies. They were around mostly in the late 80s, early 90s. Double Knot Spies were an awesome, fun garage band at that time. They had the look, they had the sound, they had the songwriting style. They were authentic. They were great. And Mike is one of those dudes who you would see at all the record swap meets in the 45 boxes, like with a pair of tweezers and a magnifying glass. Like this dude was hounding for 45s. And I guess he made Walter a bunch of compilation tapes of tasty Connecticut and Eastern New York garage and late 60s, early 70s rock music. And Walter made a CD out of one of them. God, the various local music scenes that there were then and are still now, of course, in effect. So much good music. There's no way any one human being could ever hear it in an entire lifetime. But I'm going to try. And I'm going to try to share it with you. On Tent Talks Tunes and Mr. Tent's Wild Ride, we hope. So he said, so what'd you think about that band called the Elves? I thought, yeah, the Elves, that was pretty good, man. That was like really kind of like post-hippie, pre-hard rock stuff. You know, Amber Velvet, West Virginia, Walking in Different Circles, She's Not the Same. 4 really good songs by this group called the Elves. He said, do you know who the Elves were? I said, no, who were the Elves, Walter? He said, the Elves used to play around here a lot. Their lead singer, you guessed it, Ronnie James Dio. Who would have thought? So Ronnie James Dio, we can see right now, made the transition from rockabilly to this kind of not doo-wop, not rock and roll, eventually into this kind of like post-psychedelic, post-hippie, pre-hard rock original music with his band called the Elves, who Walter told me were originally called the Electric Elves. So they went from the Electric Elves to the Elves, and I'm sure some of you can guess where the story is heading next, to the next phase in the development of Ronnie James Dio's career. You guessed it, Elf, who put out a couple of records on MGM and Deep Purple's label, Purple. I hope the light doesn't interfere with that. Of course, the reissue says very clearly that it's featuring Ronnie James Dio. But Elf. And Elf, I think, I don't think they're as interesting as the Electric Elves or the Elves. They got into more of like a kind of like a boogie bag, like a no-nonsense, mindless, heads-down boogie thing. Not as heavy as Savoy Brown, not as bluesy as Chicken Shack, not quite as raunchy as Foghat, but in that vicinity. And I will say, if you like that kind of stuff, if you like 70s boogie, you will love Elf. Because as far as that kind of stuff goes, it is good. It's really good. It's not my thing. I'm not much of a boogie guy. That's why I'll get the plug in here. I am selling this copy of the Elf record. If anybody wants me, hit me up. First come, first served. If you like boogie, you'll like Elf. So we're seeing Dio evolve from a rockabilly guy to a sort of doo-wopper to a psychedelic dude, post-hippie to a boogie dude. And that's the beauty of it, man, because this Elf record, I think, came out in 73, and Dio started in the late 50s, and he never stopped. He never stopped. He just kept going. He adapted with the times. He changed with the times, but he always did it tastefully, you know, because his rockabilly tracks are good. His sort of doo-wop stuff, same deal, for what it is good. I don't really like Bobby Darin that much, but I'll admit he's good. And it's the same thing with the Ronnie Dio and the Prophets stuff from 1963 and that era. I'm just not really into that sort of clean-cut stuff, but it's good. The Electric Elves were really good. The Elves were really good. Elf, for what it is, Elf. What the Elf is going on here? Come here, boy. Have a seat. Look at that, gang. He's done. Oh, nobody wants to see that. Of his own volition, Harry the Cat has made an appearance live on Tent Talks Tunes. Hi, guy. Don't show them that. That's gross. Say hello, everybody. Harry is here. This is one of maybe 2 times that he has actively jumped up and been on camera. Hi, without me having to grab him by the neck and say, oh, look, isn't he cute? Yes, a rare occasion that we get an unsolicited appearance by Harry the Cat. You gonna sit down there, son? What you doing, boy? Yeah. Hope you guys don't mind the interruption. Yeah. There he is. That's my guy. See, when people buy records, they all go to feed this fine, furry, fang-faced fella. Look at those fangs. Woo, what a killer. What a killer. He puts up with so much from me. Anyway, there's a lesson in there for everybody. Stick with it. If you like what you do, if you love what you're doing, you stick with it. You don't stop. You keep going. I'm sure there are plenty of starvation days for Ronnie James Dio at his various bands, whether they were Ronnie Dio and the Prophets, or Ronnie and the Redcaps, or Elf, or the Electric Elves, or whatever. But Ronnie James Dio never stopped. And whatever you think about the various types of music he played throughout all those years, it was original. It was all original. I mean, except for maybe the very, very early stuff. He might have done some covers. But everything I can think of by Ronnie Dio was original. And that included that time in the late 50s, early 60s where, you know, you didn't do original music. Now, I know for a fact that the Ronnie Dio live at the Pizza Place, which was an actual album, does have a lot of cover tunes on it. But I'm pretty sure there's original stuff too. If you look up Dio at Domino, you'll be able to find, I'm sure, that 1963 album, the one that I had to send away for on cassette and wait for weeks and weeks to arrive. You can go on YouTube right now and look up Dio at Domino and hear what I'm talking about, baby, for the early Ronnie James Dio before Black Sabbath was even a twinkle in Don Arden's eye, man. No one even knew what a Black Sabbath was unless you were a Vincent Price fan. Ronnie James Dio was at it that long ago. It kind of boggles the mind to think about it. His career predates rock and roll. It predates rock music. Let's put it that way. Ronnie James Dio's career predates rock music. And he ended up going all the way from there. Oh, easy down. Easy son. All the way from there to Elf. And of course from Elf to Rainbow, and from Rainbow to Black Sabbath, and from Black Sabbath to Dio. And here I am talking about him in the waning days of 2021. The better part of a 60-year career we're talking about here. And that, my friends, kind of answers the question. Yes, I guess I am going to talk about Ronnie James Dio today. Let's see what the people have to say about Ronnie James Dio and what I have to say about Ronnie James Dio. Let's see. Matt Matacola says that he wants, well, I don't know if he wants the GG CD or the Elf album. Someone's got to clarify that, please. According to Matt, my subtitles are being censored. What did they censor on the subtitles? Will somebody please tell me that? I didn't use one, maybe I used one or two dirty words, but please. What are they censoring? What of my words are being censored on the subtitles? Please post in the comments. I'm dying to know. I am just dying to know. Ms. Kit E. Cat says that Rainbow Dio was her favorite Dio. Good enough. And yes, Harry. A lot of oh, people are saying hi to Harry. Everybody loves Harry. Who doesn't love Harry, man? Who doesn't love cats, you know? Yes, look up the Ronnie Dio and the Prophets stuff. You will hear a lot of that. Checking the monitors, people. You're watching me and I'm watching you. It's kind of like an avant-garde art piece, isn't it? I could sit here and watch myself watching you for, let's say, 18 hours and call it an art piece. But I'm not really into it, so I'm not going to do it anymore. Yeah, man. All right, cool. I do believe that I have spoken my piece. And I'm going to try to sign out, even though it's kind of difficult because Harry is now parked very comfortably on my lap, taking a nap. Let's see if we can get a glimpse of him in action. Genuine live action shot of Harry the cat, curled up, asleep. Yeah, we're talking about you, son. Curled up asleep in my lap. There it is. I'm so glad I decided to wear pants tonight. That would have been trouble if I hadn't. But then again, he is strategically placed, so it would have been okay anyway. So I'm going to have to try to reach over and stop the video without disturbing this guy. I'm going to do it. I will do it. Because I'm the can-do sort of fella. So, I hope you guys enjoyed my little discourse on the early days of Ronnie James Dio. Hope you guys tune in next week for Tent Talks Tunes for the first time in the year 2022. Very exciting. As I always say around this time of the year, it's always good to have made it past another one. It's always good to have made it through another year, baby. Every time I have a birthday, I say that. Every time it's a new year, I say that. It's always good to make it through another one. And it's always good to do it with you, my friends, my fans, my vivacious viewers, and everybody out there who helps keep my dream alive, baby. If you want to do some of that dream keeping and keeping it alive, check out my Discogs page. I got a lot of awesome, great, groovy stuff for sale there. It's all high-quality stuff. You know, I wouldn't sell you a lemon. This is not a fruit stand. This is Tent Talks Tunes. Discogs and eBay. Look me up, baby. TPOS. I'm there. Keep an eye on my website, malcolmtent.net. Lots of tasty stuff there. And, of course, my YouTube channel, Malcolm Tent. On YouTube. Antiseen as well. YouTube. Go there. Don't be strictly L7. Aight? Aight. Hope everybody out there has a great new year. I personally do expect to be back in about 167 hours' time. Until we meet again, this is Malcolm Tent and Harry the Cat saying so long from the Nutmeg State.